Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is Lian Li's SL Infinity 140mm reverse blade fans. These are your 140mm fans, but in a reverse blade logic, where the blades are facing in a different direction to give you different airflow. These 140mm fans obviously have some very nice lighting, infinity mirrors, and more. But more importantly, what they allow you to do is transform your case so that you can take the standard intake fans that you have at the bottom of your case, where you usually have to see the backs of the fans, and you can swap them out for these reverse blade fans so you have a much cleaner view with much nicer RGB lighting and no backs visible. These are very nice fans and they're really easy to set up. You can see here the standard fans at the top, reverse blades at the bottom, both 140mm, but you'll notice the direction of the reverse blade fans is different. So in seeing this way around, the reverse blade fans on the bottom are set to intake and the top standard fans are exhaust. However, if I flip them over, you'll see that the backs of the standard fans, the wires are less visible because you'd usually have them in your case. But on the reverse blade, that's not the case, but you can mount them on the bottom and then you can have intake fans and exhaust fans all with that nice view in your case. So you can see here I've got side mounted fans with intake, bottom with intake, and then exhaust on top and at the rear in that setup. Now the 140mm reverse blade fans are only available to purchase in single packs. You have to buy them one at a time. But these are uni fans, which means they're interlocking fans that can be connected together and are really easy to wire into your system. So a nice and simple, straightforward process. In the box, you get the fan itself, which has some stickers in place that I'd recommend not removing as I am now until you're ready and they're fully installed, because that infinity mirror will pick up fingerprints, as will the side mirrors. So these will stop those from getting fingerprints on when you install them. But that's obviously where you get the nice RGB lighting effects from. These fans also have clips on the end to clip them together, but you can remove those clips by twisting them off if you want to install them on the radiator. And they will install on the radiator if you have the right size rad that you're using in your system as well. So could potentially do that. Now they come in the single pack with this cable here, which has a connector on one end and then two cables on the other, which in theory you can wire into your system. Now, if you've bought three fans and you connect them together, you have three cables, but you only need to use one of those cables. So it's worth bearing that in mind. I'm going to show you the basic wiring, and I've done a detailed setup and wiring guide which goes into a lot more depth on this that I'll link to in the description. But at a basic level, you can take three fans, for example, and then clip them together by slotting in the little brackets at the end and then just pushing them together. It's a really straightforward way of interlocking the fans, and then you just screw them into your case and mount them. This makes the mounting process and the wiring process really straightforward, because with this group of fans, the connectors between each of them ensure the RGB and the fan power travels between the fans, which means that you only have one cable instead of multiple cables with cables coming out of each fan. So it just makes wiring the system a lot more straightforward and a lot neater as well, which is really nice. This connector also has a nice little feature on it, which means that you can only install it in one direction, but there's a cap on top which you can take off, and then you can flip the cable round so that you can hide the cables away a little nicer. So depending on where you put them on your case, you can run the cable towards the back of the case so it's less visible, which helps with cable management and making things a little cleaner in your build, which can really be beneficial. At basic level, these fans are pretty easy to connect to your system. So you have two cables. One goes to the 5-volt RGB header on your motherboard if you have one. Usually most modern motherboards have a couple of these, and it's a 3-pin connector. And then you have a separate one for your chassis fan header or your system fan header on your motherboard. Plugging both these in will allow your motherboard to control both the fan speed and the RGB lighting from the motherboard software and from the BIOS, and you can get some basic lighting effects in that way. Now, obviously with three fans, that's easy, but if you're adding loads of fans in your system, it can be problematic. The best way to do this is to combine this with a triple pack of 120mm fans, which includes the SL Infinity controller, and that gives you a lot more flexibility. You can also buy this controller and accessories kit separately if you're using 140mm fans throughout your system. And this controller has multiple ports on it. You can see there's 4 ports, allows you to control up to 4 groups of fans in up to groups of 4 potentially 16 fans in total. It comes with 4 of these cables included with it, which has a flat connector on the end. Instead of 2 cables, you now have 1 cable. So the connection's the same on the fan end, but then instead of plugging it into your motherboard, you then connect it up to the controller and plug it into one of these ports. That controller then connects to your motherboard, and this is definitely the best way to do it. You have to connect multiple cables, including SATA power, USB, and then optionally the 5-volt RGB header and system fan header to give you the option to control those things from your motherboard software still if you want it. But L-Connect gives you the ability to adjust the RGB lighting and tweak the visuals a lot more, as well as updating software. Now, I've done a separate wiring guide on this, but also I'm going to go into a lot more depth on other things that you need to know. For example, you can mix and match 120mm and 140mm fans without any fuss. The fans also have obviously the mirror in the middle, but also controllable lighting in different sections. So you have the bit around the outside and the mirrored section on the outer edge as well. And you can tweak the RGB lighting and you can sync it up between the fans and have different effects running through these fans one by one across different colors, and also creating loads of different looks and styles in your case as well. So there's plenty that you can do to make these look awesome. They're a great addition to your build. And if you want to find out more, check out the links in the description to other related videos. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, you absolute legend. You've made it right to the end, and so you must have enjoyed it. Hit that thumbs up and give me a subscribe if you haven't already. Drop me a comment if you've got any questions, and check out these videos that I've linked over here, because you might find them really useful or interesting or relevant. Have a great life.